Hello everyone, Samatari here, and welcome back to another gaming creepypasta. Today we're covering a Pokepasta called The Wrath of Titan. Now the thing is, this was written by a friend of mine. He wrote it a long time ago on the Pokepasta Wiki, the Pokepasta Wikia, which I used to help run, but it's basically become overrun with trolls, so I'm desperately trying to salvage as much of the work on there as possible. We promoted people to write a lot of original Pokepastas. It's where I wrote my Pokepastas, and so basically that's the gist with that one. So anyways, The Wrath of Titan. I didn't have Pokemon as a child. I come from a Christian home. Not that there's anything anti-Christian about Pokemon, but you know. My parents were always a bit skeptical, as were a lot of Christian parents at the time. Of course, I played around, acting like I had a Charmander or a Squirtle. I mean, who didn't? I grew up in the 90s, and when I was a kid, everyone played Pokemon. But the first Pokemon game that I owned was Heart Gold. My brother played Diamond in the summer of 2007, when we had summer school, and when Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out, he got Soul Silver and nagged me to get Heart Gold. I did, and eventually, I was hooked. Now, anyone you talk to who knows me will tell you that my favorite Pokemon is Munchlax. I'm not sure why, but I just love that thing, the cute baby version of Snorlax. This probably comes from a joke that my brother made. I said, "You know, Alpha, if I was a Pokemon, I'd be a Snorlax. Because I'm kind of a big guy, 6 feet tall, 300 pounds. And he said, "Nah, Django, Ward is Snorlax. You're a Munchlax." I agreed with him on this. Our friend Ward would indeed be a Snorlax. He's pretty big, and he can be really lazy. "What's a Munchlax?" I asked. "It's Snorlax's pre-evolved form," he told me. I was unaware that Snorlax had any evolutions. I looked up Munchlax, thought it was pretty cool, and I decided to get one. The first one I bred in Heart Gold was almost exactly like me. It was male, had quirky nature. When you talked to him, sometimes it would randomly hug the trainer. It would get lost in thought. Sometimes he would space out or stare at the ground while he walks. I tend to look at the ground when I walk. I have a weird personality, and I'm a hugger, and I get lost in thought and space out a lot. So I named this Munchlax after myself, and raised it to level 100, and it was my pride and joy. I kept it from evolving on purpose. My friend, Ryoji, one of the nicknames and the names he gives all of his RPG main characters, pronounced Ryoji, can farm breed shiny Pokemon. He found a way to increase the likelihood of hatching shinies, and he had the luck of the gods when it came to hatching and encountering them. So I asked him to breed me a shiny Munchlax. Ryoji and I don't get to hang out much. I moved to go to college, and we both have busy schedules. But one time, when we did get to hang out, he gifted me with the shiny Munchlax I asked for. I asked that he name it Titan, because I knew it would be powerful when it evolved into a Snorlax. But I never used Titan in Heart Gold. I left him in my PC box. I had planned to get a copy of Platinum, and I was going to use him as my starter. I hit a dead end on completing my Heart Gold Pokedex, and I didn't really want to hunt the 7 Sages in White. So I put Pokemon down for a while and moved on to other games, only playing Pokemon every once in a while. A few months later, I went to an anime convention, and there had been a Pokemon panel, which told us about some of the dark rumors of Pokemon, which I would learn later they were called creepypastas. The Pokemon booth told us about Buried Alive, Lavender Town Syndrome, Gary's Raticate, and the White Hand. This intrigued me a bit. Could there actually be a dark side to these fun kid games? But that was beside the point. I was back on my Pokemon hype. When the con was over, I made it priority to complete my Heart Gold Pokedex. I asked my brother to look up where to get a Buizel. He told me where and said that I had to use the Sinnoh Sound app on the radio. This is what plays on Thursdays on the Pokemon Music Channel. So I changed the day on the DS calendar to Thursday, and the music played. I went on Route 35, and the very first Buizel I encountered was a shiny. I freaked out when the yellow and white weasel slid onto the screen and the shiny animation played. I had only seen one wild shiny before that, not counting the red Gyarados at Lake of Rage. I caught a shiny Baldor I met at Victory Road in white, and I wasn't about to let this one get away either. So I threw a quick ball, and I caught the weasel. I think that shinies should be treated special. So I decided to train it. I named it Poseidon, after the Greek god of the sea. It eventually evolved into Floatzel and grew stronger and stronger. So I was doing my second usual training method of spam fighting the Elite Four. I couldn't fight Blue because it wasn't Sunday, and I was trying to catch Seviper in the Safari Zone. With some Pokemon like Seviper, Bagon, Krognok, and Stunky, you have to place certain items in the Safari Zone and wait so many days. and I tried tricking the DS clock, but it didn't work, so I decided to just wait. Now, I had just beaten Lance, went through the credits, and woke up in New Barktown like normal. I had my prize team with me, my level 100 Munchlax, my level 100 Feraligatr, named Saber, level 100 Blastoise named Koopa, and level 100 Lapras named Laplace. My level 100 Mewtwo named Chaos, and Poseidon, level 42, by this point. I walked downstairs and saw Mom and Lyra sitting there. I found this odd, because I don't recall ever seeing Lyra outside the main story or the Celebi event. Mom got an exclamation mark icon above her head. She then walked up to me and a text box appeared. Mom said, "Oh, Abe, there's a Pokemon sitting outside. Is it one of yours? It looks sad." No, that's not a typo. My character's name was put in as Abel, but it was supposed to be Abel, or supposed to be Abe, but I didn't want to restart my game. Having never seen this before, I was a bit surprised. I walked outside, and I was shocked to see a light blue Munchlax sitting there. Without being able to control the game, Abel walked up to it. Its back was turned to him. Another text box. Titan said, "How could you do this to me? Ryoji worked so hard to create me, and then he just ignores me." I was getting a little freaked out at this. How had Titan gotten out of the PC? And in New Barktown? There wasn't a PC with a Pokemon storage system there. And weirder still, how was it talking? And about Ryoji? Titan got an exclamation mark above his head too. He turned around and saw Abel standing there. Titan said, "You! How could you? You spent countless hours grinding all the others, but you left me to rot in that PC box." I was then thrown into a battle, and the Rivals theme was playing. The shiny Munchlax appeared. The shiny animation played, but his sprite looked angry. His cry was more low pitch, as if trying to sound mad, and it was level 100. This was wrong. Titan was supposed to be level 1. He had never been in any battles at all. The text box read, "Ryoji's Titan appeared." The first Pokemon I sent out was my level 100 Munchlax that I named after myself. Titan then spoke once more. Titan said, "You would spend hours training this Munchlax, but you don't even give me the time of day. Unforgivable." I chose the command Thunder, but Titan moved first. Titan used Body Slam. Critical hit. Django fainted. I was getting scared. He just one-shotted one of my best Pokemon. I sent out Saber next. I chose Superpower because normal types are weak to fighting, but it missed. This was irritating. Titan used Thunder. Critical hit. It's super effective. Saber fainted. Now I was getting angry. I sent out Koopa next. I chose Focus Blast. This missed, but I wasn't surprised because she had horrible accuracy for some reason, even with the wide lens item. Plus Focus Blast's accuracy is only 85%. Titan used Thunder again and one-shot Koopa too. I sent out Laplace. I chose Body Slam. I finally managed to land a hit, but it only took about 1/4 of his HP. Then Titan used Metronome. I was pissed when I saw the move. Titan used Brick Break. The super effective move KO'd Lapras as well. I sent out Poseidon next. Titan spoke again. Titan said, "If it hadn't been for you, he forgot about me when you came along." This wasn't true. I knew Titan was in the PC box. I was just waiting to get Platinum. I told Poseidon to use Aqua Jet. It hit, but it barely did any damage. Titan used Thunder once again. One hit KO. I was down to my last Pokemon. I sent out Chaos. If this failed, I didn't think anything could stop him. Chaos used Aura Sphere. It hit and depleted Titan's health down to a sliver. The battle ended there. It returned to the overworld, and I saw Titan turn his back on my sprite. Titan said, "I just wanted you to be my friend." Lyra then came out of the house. Lyra said, "What's all the commotion?" Then she got an exclamation mark above her head. Lyra said, "What's going on here? He looks sad. You should try being more friendly to him." I talked to Titan again, but he just said the same message as the last time. I tried to leave New Barktown, but Abel said, "I can't leave yet." I didn't have my Pidgeot with me, so I couldn't fly, and I didn't want to surf all the way to Kanto. Then I remembered something Lyra said. She said I should be more friendly. I scrolled through my inventory and found the item Soothe Bell in there. It increased his Pokemon's friendship level. I approached Titan, went back to my inventory, selected the Soothe Bell, and clicked Use, an option that wasn't normally there for a held item. Titan got another exclamation mark over his head. He turned around. Titan said, "Even after all this, you still want to be friends?" Another text box appeared. Titan was given Soothe Bell to hold. Then Titan said, "No, I can't." Then there was a noise that sounded like someone had used the move Metronome. The game did a flight animation, and then Titan was gone. Lyra walked up and said, "Where's he going? Looks like he's flying towards Sinnoh." So Titan was gone. Ryoji was irritated when I told him about this, considering how long he spent trying to breed a shiny Munchlax, but it was out of my control. I continued on my quest to complete my Pokédex. I found a way to exploit the global trading system to get the event legendaries, since I didn't have the game while the events were going on. When you search for a Wi-Fi spot, when it asks if you want to auto-obtain DNS, click no, and put in a certain number. Whenever you get to the GTS, you'll receive a random Pokemon. So now I had Arceus, Shaman, Mew, Darkrai, Deoxys, and so on. The only event legendary the GTS didn't give me was Celebi, but I already had it because I actually was able to download the event. My Pokédex was at 491. All I was missing was Gliscor and Probopass. A few weeks later, I finally saved up enough money and bought a copy of Platinum from my local GameStop. Lo and behold, it had the two I was missing. So I transferred them over, and all the other good ones, the level 100s and all the legendaries. This copy of Platinum was GameShark. It had 999 of every item, even the Cherish Balls, and all red Pokeballs that held event Pokemon. You couldn't obtain those at all. So once I transferred everything I wanted to, and upon fully completing the Heart Gold Pokedex, I restarted my copy of Platinum and named my character Crimson. It started out normal, or what I assumed was normal since I hadn't played Platinum before. So Verde, my rival, and I were about to receive our starters from Rowan. I chose Chimchar. I usually go with water types, but I don't like Piplup, and I thought Infernape was pretty cool. I clicked on Chimchar and was greeted by a text box that said, ... What was that supposed to mean? I clicked again, but I got the same thing. I tried Piplup and got the same message. I hate grass types, but I didn't seem to have much choice. I chose Turtwig, and I got the same text box. I was confused. It wouldn't give me a starter? After the text box disappeared, it sent me back to the overworld. Then Rowan spoke. Rowan said, "You don't like any of these? Then how about this one?" I was sent to another screen with one Pokeball, another text box. Rowan said, "I found him outside my lab this morning. He seemed sad." I clicked the Pokeball, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was a shiny Munchlax. I chose him, and Rowan said, "He needs a good home. I know you'll be a good partner for him, Crimson." I checked the Munchlax's stats. Sure enough, it was Titan. It was male, holding a Soothbell, level 1, hasty nature, and his OT was Ryoji. I sent a text to Ryoji to tell him about this. I received the message back, "You've been blocked from original messages to this number." Ugh, I was used to this. He was out of minutes again. I decided to surprise him next time we met. So I began my quest with Titan by my side, the way I had planned it originally. It was a little difficult because he was level 1, but he leveled up very fast, being a traded Pokemon. A lot of times he'd disobey because I didn't have the right gym badge. Because he was holding the Soothbell, his friendship increased rapidly and evolved into a Snorlax at the conclusion of my battle with Fantina. He had a hasty nature, which made him extremely fast for a Snorlax. He was even faster than my Golduck, who was only about 4 levels below Titan. On top of that, his friendship was really high, so I taught him the move Return, which increases the power the higher the friendship is, and he could one-shot just about anyone. As my team reached higher levels, some of my other Pokemon became faster than Titan. Since his friendship was already at the maximum, he didn't need the Soothbell anymore, so I gave him a Quick Claw to let him keep up with the rest of my team. This made the Elite Four relatively easy. Though the battle with Cynthia was still difficult, freaking Spiritomb, but I finally managed to complete my run-through over the course of about 3 weeks. I normally breeze through these games, but I tried to do everything I could before beating the Elite Four, including the Rune Maniac side quest, which took several days just by itself. I had also been playing a copy of Diamond because I was doing a Nuzlocke challenge, but I wanted to do a normal playthrough of Platinum, and I didn't want to restart Heart Gold. I woke up in Twin Leaf Town, and I expected to go on my quest to capture all the legendaries to fill this Pokedex. I went downstairs, then walked outside, but when I got outside, there was someone waiting for me. It was Ethan, the trainer from Heart Gold. Even though I hadn't played Platinum before, I was pretty sure that this was not supposed to happen. Heart Gold came out after Platinum, so that sprite shouldn't even be there. I gasped when I saw the text box. Abel says, "I'm here to take Titan back with me." Crimson walked forward and the shiny Snorlax stepped out from behind him. Titan said, "I'm not going back with you. You neglected me, but Crimson loves me. He treats me the way a trainer should." Abel said, "Ryoji created you for me. You're coming back with me right now." Titan screamed, "Never!" Abel then ran towards Crimson and Titan, and the battle engaged. It said, Pokemon Trainer Abel came charging. I had only seen this message once before on my copy of Diamond. The message, blank came charging, is from the very first battle when you're ambushed by some wild Starlies, and you have to use your newly picked starter to battle. Abel sent out a level 100 Feraligatr named Saber first. Titan merely came out. Crimson wasn't even on the screen. Titan was level 100 now, instead of level 65, where he'd been after the Elite Four. Then, a command was picked without my input. The game chose Fight. I was surprised to see the entirely new moveset. Titan knew Metronome, Body Slam, Giga Impact, and Return before our battle with Cynthia. Now he knew Thunder, Mega Punch, Crunch, and the last move made me shudder. Guillotine. I knew that Guillotine was a real move, but Snorlax can't learn it. The only Pokemon that I know for sure that can learn it are Pinsir and Kingler. I don't use one-hit KO moves, so I don't know who all can use them. Titan used Thunder. It was a critical super effective. My eyes widened at the next text box. Saber died. Died? Died? Pokemon can't die when they lose a fight. I was getting scared now. Titan was going to shred my entire prize team. Abel sent out Koopa next. Same routine. Thunder, Koopa died. Next was Django, my level 100 Munchlax. This time, Titan used Mega Punch. Same message. Seeing my name and died in the same sentence made me cringe. Then Abel sent out Poseidon, who was level 100 here, but had only been level 47 when I last used him. I had been busy completing the decks and not spending as much time training him anymore. He used Aqua Jet and managed to take about 1/5 of Titan's HP. Titan used Thunder. My shiny Floatzel died too. Next was Lapras. Titan used Mega Punch. This killed my Lapras as well. Next was Chaos. Chaos went first, using Aura Spear. The attack animation started, the energy gathering around Mewtwo and focusing into a ball, but before he could unleash the attack, another text popped up. Titan said, "Not this time." Titan's sprite moved in as if the Quick Claw let him go first, and Chaos' attack stopped. Titan used Crunch. Critical hit. It's super effective. Chaos died. No, not my Mewtwo. He was the strongest one I had. Titan had just killed off my entire team. But something was wrong. The battle didn't end. Abel's sprite scrolled back to the screen. The game picked the fight option. There was one move that hadn't been used yet. Guillotine. Titan uses Guillotine. After the attack connected, the head on Abel's sprite was gone. Some red pixels covered his neck, and he fell off the screen. Abel died. It then cut back to the overworld. It showed Abel's dead body laying there. Titan then turned and looked at Crimson. Titan said, "I'm sorry you had to see that, but I had to do it. He neglected me. He wanted to take me away from you. You showed me kindness, and gave me the life I wanted. Do you still love me?" The game gave me a yes or no option. I paused, trying to comprehend what had just happened. I was still confused about how Titan had gotten into Platinum to begin with. I couldn't think of an explanation. And now Abel shows up. And then Titan killed him and his entire team. Not KO'd. He killed them. I had never used an action replay on Heart Gold, and I knew it wasn't hacked because I bought it brand new from GameStop. The copy of Platinum was used, but the only hacks I could see was the cheated amount of items on the previous save file. I looked back up at the game. Perhaps Titan was right. On Heart Gold, I should have showed him more care. I hadn't used him at all, even though Munchlax is my favorite Pokemon, and I did use Poseidon, a shiny I got by chance, while Ryoshi spent a long time trying to breed Titan specifically for me. I can understand why he felt betrayed. I did still love this Pokemon. He's one of my favorites, and a shiny on top of that. Plus I was kinda scared that he'd turn on Crimson if I said no, so I clicked yes. Another text box appeared. Titan said, "You hesitated. You're mad at me. You don't love me anymore, not after I've done this." The game then made the metronome sound, and the flight animation played. Titan flew away like last time. It faded to black and returned to the title screen. Dumbfounded, I switched the DS off, and decided to check my copy of Heart Gold. When I opened it up, my save file was still there. I loaded it, and it showed New Barktown. Near one of the trees were 7 gravestones, like the ones in the Lost Tower. Mom, Lyra, and the sprite of the main character from Platinum were standing in front of them. Abel's mom was crying. Mom said, "How could this have happened?" Sob. Abel. Sob. My jaw dropped to the next text box. Ryoji then said, "It's my fault. I created that monster. Now I'm going to finish this." Lyra said, "Ryoji, you couldn't have known this would have happened. It's not your fault." Ryoji said, "I'm sorry, but I have to do this." He then held out a Pokeball. A black Charizard appeared and did the flight animation. That was Cloud MK3, Ryoji's prized shiny Charizard. They flew off screen, leaving Lyra and Mom behind. The screen faded to black, back to the title screen. I tried to continue, but it said, "Leave this to Ryoji." I was confused. I tried Platinum. I hadn't saved, so I woke up in my room like last time, except Titan wasn't in my party anymore. My Golduck, Arcanine, Charizard, Gallade, and Glaceon were still there, but my Snorlax wasn't. I went downstairs and tried to leave, but Crimson's mom stopped me. Mom said, "Honey, I know you want to help, but leave this in Ryoji's hands." Well, crap, what could I do? Both my games were telling me not to do anything. I checked my copies of Diamond and White. They played normally, but they weren't involved in this incident. I wanted to know what was happening. Just after that, I heard my phone ring. It was a text from Ryoji, the person, not the character. "Hey Django, my copy of Platinum is acting weird. Cloud just made me fly to New Barktown. It looked like a funeral was being held and the deceased was named Abel. Isn't that what you named your character?" Not able to think of much else, I told him what happened, and replied, "It's in your hands now. Go get him." The next part is written from Ryoji's point of view, because he's the one who happened to be there. My involvement in all this started when my friend Django told me something was going wrong with that shiny Munchlax I had bred for him. After Titan flew away from him in Heart Gold, my methods for breeding shinies no longer worked. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get another shiny. A few weeks later, though, the daycare man said something weird. "I believe the last one you bred has something to do with your problem." Now this was odd, because I knew that the last shiny I had tried to breed was Titan. Nothing else happened for a few weeks, but the day after I got more minutes on my phone, my copy of Platinum did something that I'll never forget. I exited the Poke Center where I had last saved, and then without my input, Cloud MK3, my shiny Charizard, chose to fly us to New Barktown, in spite of the fact that my Charizard didn't know fly. The reason it's Cloud MK3 is because my original Cloud was on my Fire Red version, and was extremely powerful. I traded him to Pearl, but my copy of Pearl got stolen. I bred a shiny Charmander on Heart Gold and named it Cloud MK2, but the data got erased after the game ended up in the washing machine, so this is Cloud MK3. Cloud doing this freaked me out a little bit, considering New Barktown isn't even in Platinum, but what scared me the most was the graves. I had a copy of Heart Gold, so I knew they shouldn't be there, but how had he ended up here in the first place? I saw Abel's mom and Lyra. We had a small exchange of words, which is weirder still because the main characters almost never talk in Pokemon. After the conversation, the game made Cloud fly again, and we ended up in Sandgem. I texted Django to tell him what was going on, and he told me that what happened to his copy. He left it in my hands, and I was going to end this. I can't say why I had become so calm at that point, but I knew what had to be done. I went into the lab, walked up to Professor Rowan, and a text box appeared. Rowan said, "I heard what happened to your friend. I'm sorry about that. I never should have given that Munchlax to Crimson. He's roaming Sinnoh now. Here, let me mark it in your Pokédex." I went to the PC and Sandgem Pokemon Center and switched out my Pokemon with the team I had built for tournament with my friends, and I started. This team was composed of Rock, Steel, and Ground types. All of them were heavy hitters, and all were level 100. I then set out on a hunt for the beast I had created. He appeared on my Pokédex the way Mesprit does. My chase took me all over the map, and time again I would see Titan, but when I would get within 5 steps of him, he would fly away. I know that Metronome can do random things, including make Snorlax fly, but that was only in battle. Metronome can't be used in the overworld. This made things all the more irritating. When I pursued him to Mount Coronet, he ran inside, and the chase continued on foot. Finally, I caught him at Spear Pillar. Then it got really weird. Titan had his back to me, facing the center of the area. A text box appeared. Titan said, "Team Galactic had the right idea. A perfect world. Your world. I will use Palkia and Dialga to go there, and you cannot stop me." Titan turned to face my character. Titan said, "I just wanted him to love me. You're no different. Shinies are special, and you breed us on a whim." Then the battle began. The shiny Snorlax appeared on the screen, and a message said, "Ryoji's Titan appeared." The Snorlax looked angry, and his cry was in a much deeper tone. The music playing was the same as when you battle Regigigas. I knew it was going to be a tough fight, so I started out with my level 100 Hippowdon, Gaia. Titan used Crunch, and it took out over half its HP. This was ridiculous. He was my tank, and he's not even weak to Dark-type moves. I responded with Earthquake, but I barely scratched him. Titan followed up with a Mega Punch. A text box saying Gaia died appeared. Now it was happening to me too. I tried the rest of my team, but Titan was a monster. He wiped them all out one by one. Terra, my Scizor, Leviathan, my Empoleon, Ziz, my Flygon, and Masamune, my Gliscor, each one dying instead of fainting, until all I had left was Behemoth, my shiny Tyranitar. I sent him out as my last hope. Afraid I would end up like Abel, I opened up with Dragon Dance, but Titan responded with Mega Punch, and one hit killed my trump card. I was screwed. My sprite appeared on the screen, and I heard a Snorlax cry. A text box read, Titan says, I'm sorry, but now you'll meet the same fate. Titan used Guillotine. I closed my eyes and waited for the worst, but then I heard something that made my heart leap. The cry of a Charizard. The attack began its animation as the blades appeared. Cloud swooped down out of nowhere, like when a Pokemon uses Fly in battle. Just as the attack connected, the black Charizard pushed my trainer sprite back and took the hit. My heart sank as I watched my prized Pokemon's health plummet. But as it hit 1 HP, a message appeared saying, Cloud MK3 endured the hit, followed by another saying, Cloud MK3 says, You will not touch him. I nearly passed out from the surprise. Cloud was speaking, and what's more, he was protecting me. Titan said, Why? Why do you get all the love? You protect him because he cherished you, but what about me? Don't I deserve to be loved too? Cloud made a low rumbling noise that sounded like Charizard's cry when it faints. Cloud MK3 said, You were cherished, you just didn't see it. Crimson was scared, but he would have never left you. Titan screamed, Lies! He doesn't love me anymore. Whether he's Crimson or Abel, I'll get him at the source. The battle resumed and Cloud used Sunny Day. I wasn't in control anymore, otherwise I wouldn't have never chosen this. Cloud only had 1 HP left, and he couldn't afford to set that up. Titan used Thunder and landed a critical, but the message, Cloud MK3 endured the hit, came up followed by, Cloud MK3 says, I will never back down. Cloud used Flamethrower and took out a good third of Titan's health. Titan used Mega Punch, but once again the message played, and Cloud survived. Titan says, How can you stand up for a trainer who isn't even real? How can you endure so much for someone from another world? He creates shiny Pokemon at will, not even cherishing them like the rare gems we are. Cloud MK3 says, Because our worlds are connected. Ryoshi's sprite here may be fake, but somewhere out there is the one who raised me. He went out of his way to create us. He gave us life, and you will not harm him or his friends. Cloud proceeded to use Solar Beam, and the critical hit brought Titan's HP down to 0. I let out a premature victory shout, but my feeling of triumph turned to fear when Titan didn't fall from the screen and another text box appeared. My stomach nodded as I read the message. Titan said, If I can't get my revenge, then I'll take you down with me. Titan used Explosion. I prayed that Cloud would endure this too, but my hope turned to despair. Cloud's HP hit 0. Cloud MK3 died. Titan died. Both sprites fell off the screen and the battle ended. It returned to the overworld, still at the spear pillar. Titan was gone, and there, laying before me, was a bloody black Charizard. It was laying in a crumpled heap, on top of a patch of red pixels. It was covered in battle scars, and its tail flame had gone out. I examined it, but a text box appeared reading, It's no use, he's gone. I was heartbroken. My most cherished Pokemon was dead. He died to protect me. I hate to admit it, but I broke down and I cried. I looked at Cloud MK3 as the successor to my original partner from Fire Red. It was bad enough that I had lost MK1 and 2, but now MK3 was gone as well, killed by another shiny that I had created. All of a sudden I heard a strange noise, and I looked up to see Palkia and Dialga appear before my sprite. Emerging from the portals that they came out of earlier in the story, when the spatial warp stopped, a text box appeared. Palkia and Dialga said, We have borne witness your struggles and have taken an interest in your skills. We have designed to grant you a gift. We will return Cloud to you, but no one else. They will serve as a reminder to you of how you affect this world with careless actions and that life is precious. Now go. They screeched and the world went white. I woke up at my house at Twinleaf and checked my party. Cloud was there, but as a shiny Charmander and at level 1. His name was now Cloud MK4. I walked downstairs to see Lyra and another main character sprite who turned out to be Crimson, as well as Abel's mother all sitting at the table, and they congratulated me. Crimson said, You've done so much. I'm sorry this happened." Lyra said, "Thank you. Abel can rest easy now." Abel's mom said, "My son would be honored." My character's mother walked up to me and said, "You've been through a lot. Why don't you go and relax a little?" The screen faded as my sprite walked through the door, and the game asked if I wanted to save. I clicked yes. I never wanted to forget what happened, for fear it might happen again. We're switching back to Django's point of view now. About 4 hours after the conversation I had with Ryoji, I received another text from him. "It's finished," he said, and he told me what happened. I was sad for him too. I could rebuild my team, but getting shiny takes a long time, so it would take him a while. I decided to check my copy of Platinum, and it showed me the same as what Ryoji had said, but from Crimson's point of view. After Ryoji left the house, Lyra and Abel's mom said that they were returning to Johto. They walked out, and then the game played like normal, the only difference being that Titan was gone. I saved the game, then checked my copy of Heart Gold. My save file was still there. I opened it, but the screen was black. Then Abel's sprite slowly faded in. The one that shows up on the trainer card and in the Hall of Fame, but it was white, almost ghostly. A text box appeared. Abel said, "Thank you. You've allowed me to rest in peace. With Titan gone, no one else will suffer this fate." Then 6 shadows appeared around him. They were in the shape of my prize team: Munchlax, Feraligatr, Mewtwo, Lapras, Blastoise, and Floatzel. Abel said, "I'm sorry this had to happen, but you can't change the past. Thank you, and thank Ryoji for me." The screen then faded to white and returned to the title screen. I checked to see if the file was still there. When I pressed the start on the title screen, it automatically took me to Professor Oak, greeting me with the usual introduction about Pokemon. I would have to start a new game. In the end, I was saddened. I had invested over 350 hours into Heart Gold, trying to complete the Pokedex, and all that work was erased. On top of that, not only was my shiny Snorlax gone, but so was mine and Ryoji's whole teams. But what Titan had said before the battle with Ryoji disturbed me a little. From what Ryoji told me, Titan was mad at me because on Heart Gold I didn't treat him the same as Poseidon, and he was mad at Ryoji for farm breeding shinies. I guess he saw it as playing God in a sense. But then Titan tried to come to our world and hunt us directly? Of course I knew that it wasn't possible, but even so, a Pokemon game saying those kinds of things is pretty messed up. I still play Pokemon a lot, and I'm ready for the release of Black and White too. All I can say is, I've never looked at Snorlax the same way again. I still use Munchlax, and he's still my favorite. I caught another one in Platinum to fill in the gap in my team. Ryoji told me that he hasn't tried to breed any more shinies since the incident. I don't know if he will or won't again. As I said earlier, I think shinies are special and should be treated as such. I should have listened to my own advice. A few weeks later, I went to Anime Weekend in Atlanta with my friend Yoshi, and I accidentally left my copy of White in her car. When I got back, she told me she left me a surprise. There, in my PC box, was a shiny female Munchlax. Alright, so that is basically Wrath of Titan. Now the thing is I have always liked this Pokepasta. I liked it the first time I read it, and basically now looking back on it, really not much has really changed with how I feel about it. I still think it was really well written, and I like the fact that it's not your typical Pokepasta. Typical Pokepastas are hacked games that you buy from a shady old man at a yard sale, or you go into GameStop and they kind of just thrust the game in your hands and they're like, "Take it, we don't want it anymore." But this one's actually pretty different. This guy bought a new game, and it I remember talking to the guy that wrote this, if you want to call him Abel or whatever. I remember talking to him, and we were basically discussing decisions, my Pokepasta decisions, and he was like, okay, in your Pokepasta where, you don't choose that last Pokemon, it sits there and rots, he's like, that's kind of what happened with Titan. He's sitting there and he's rotting, and it's just the opposite, whereas in my Pokepasta, the Bulbasaur just sits there and waits, and it's the professor that's like, no, I'm tired of people not choosing you, I'm gonna destroy you. Titan went mad instead and decided to seek revenge on his trainer. And he also did basically reiterate the fact that he thinks that breeding shinies and breeding Pokemon with certain natures and habits and the IVs and the EVs and blah 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 blah. We were talking about how competitive Pokemon breeding and the whole breeding shinies with all these natures and doing all this stuff, farm breeding basically, he basically reiterated the point that he feels like that's playing God. He feels like you should just love a Pokemon for however you get it and just deal with it however it is. And I agreed with him, which is another reason why this Pokepasta spoke out to me so much. Now that I look at it now, it's not really so much scary. It's not really scary, but in a sense it kind of is disturbing. And like I said, it does kind of hit that home of what are the Pokemon thinking when you leave them in the PC? You know, you're a Pokemon trainer and you catch all these Pokemon and they're stuck in the PC and you're never going to use them and they're just sitting there. And do they feel neglected? I mean, granted, with Pokemon and me, we kind of get this idea of what it's like inside the Pokeball, where it's all fluffy and bubbly and happy, but if you're not playing with that Pokemon, they're all alone in this space. There's no one there to take care of them. Same in the PC. If they're just sitting in a PC, maybe they can interact with the other Pokemon you've put in there, but ultimately, they were caught, you're never going to use them, and they're ultimately alone. And so it's just one of those things where it gets you thinking about the Pokemon universe, what really happens when you catch all these Pokemon. And honestly, it kind of makes you want to go team Plasma for a minute and go, release all your Pokemon. They don't deserve this, you know. At least that's what I thought when I first read it. Granted, like I said, reading it again, it's not really very scary. It's kind of disturbing, and mostly I like it just because it's different and it kind of gets you to think. I mean, it was kind of hard jumping from viewpoint to viewpoint. And it's weird with all the dialogue because you know that these things in a normal Pokemon game aren't possible. But still, out of a 10 rating, I would still give this Pokepasta at least a 7 or an 8. I like it. I like the unique idea behind it. And the thing is, if you also like this as well, we're just going to call him Abel. Abel is actually writing a second part to Wrath of Titan, and he has not finished it. He's been working on it for years. He's just waiting on his friend to complete his half of it. I believe it's the guy that plays Ryoji. But he is working on a second part, and if you do like this Pokepasta, please, 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 let him know in the comments down below. I am in contact with him via email, and I'm sure he'd like to see the support. But yeah, as a Pokepasta, this is just, it's different, it's unique, it's not your typical, you know, thing. Yeah, there was the whole beheading thing, there was the death of your Pokemon died, and these are things that you're going to find in most Pokepastas, but not everything can be 100% original and creative. I'm pretty much guilty of this as well. But yeah, so if you really like the Pokepasta, leave a like, and go ahead and leave me a comment down below, letting me know what you thought. If you want me to continue reading these Pokepastas and these gaming creepypastas, also let me know. They seem to be really super popular, and I really appreciate the support. So, yeah. But anyways, that's all I have for now. So this is Samutari. I just got done reading a Pokepasta called The Wrath of Titan, and I will see you guys in the next one. Alright. Ciao, you guys.